Abundance is our nature. It might be hard to get that, to sort of settle into that. Abundance is my nature. What does that mean? So if we stop, do we have an abundance of air? Do we have an abundance of time? Or do we have a thought that there's something that's not like that? See, it seems like you're either in one camp or another. You've got two legs, and you could have one leg in the scarcity world. You could have one leg in the abundant world. Where do you choose to stand? And so, why wouldn't you choose abundance if that's possible? Why wouldn't you stand in abundance? Well, I got this quote from Wayne Dyer. Abundance is not something you acquire, it is something we tune into. So maybe the whole sense of abundance has always been here, and it's something that we haven't necessarily tuned into or acknowledged. And so, what really is abundance? And so, I've been asking friends for this last month, what's abundance? Tell me what abundance is. Everybody came up with something, and nobody came up with money. It was interesting, very interesting. And my friend Robin said, abundance is knowing the value of what you have. I thought, oh, I'm taking that one I'm taking that one here. It's knowing the value of what you have. Basically is if I am grateful for what I have, that's a foundation that you build a life on. And that's a foundation that is already here if we tune into it. And that's that Zen 180, look back inside and stopping for a moment, stopping the thoughts that say to the contrary, and just resting in what is alive and present and moving within me right now. Do I have an abundance of time? Anything other than yes is a thought. We have all the time in the world, or we have a thought that says, no, there's a scarcity of time. Do we have an abundance of friends? Well, no, I only have 2 or 3 friends. I need more friends. Really? How about all the acquaintances, the people that would miss you? How about all of the people in your life that you've known over all this time that you're not in contact with? See, we have all of this abundance around us that we are not, and it's a way of our seeing and a way of a focus that we're not seeing. We're not seeing the abundance that is right before us, that is right within our lives at this very moment. We are being showered with abundance if we tune into it, if we actually stop and see. The fact that we have a life and we're on a planet is pretty amazing. And that all of this has been provided in some way is pretty amazing. And I know I've talked about this before, uncherished gifts vanish. If we don't recognize the gifts that are given, they disappear. Now, Jesus said, for those that have, more will be given. For those that have not, even that which you have will be taken away. Now, he's not talking about coming in and taking your car or your or your silverware or your fine fur coat or whatever. What he's saying is, do you recognize what you have, the gift of what you have, the gift of love and connection and friendships? Do you recognize the gift of safety around you that others aren't experiencing right now? Are you recognizing your privilege, your absolute privilege? So if you don't recognize that, what'll happen is it disappears. It simply disappears because you're not aware of it. It doesn't go anywhere, you just don't see it anymore. Take your car, for instance. It's a car, but when it was brand new, when you first bought it, if you bought a brand new car, even a brand new used car, wow, this was something special. You saw it in the parking lot, and this is pretty cool. And now you don't see it. You don't appreciate it. I mean, some of us do, but for the most part, you don't appreciate what is already in front of us. This is what Jesus is saying. He's saying, you've got to appreciate what you have. If not, it disappears. And when it disappears, you start to go into what the Buddhists would call the hungry ghost of desire for something more. I need something more. I need a new car. I need something to make me feel better. I want the experience of something better than I'm feeling right now. A thought comes up, boy, if I had a new car, I'd feel great. Well, you would for a while. But then what happens? And we all know what happens. You don't see it anymore. It vanishes. And then you're back in the cycle again of reaching out for something more. What if we were just to stop and be grateful for what has been given? Just the simple stopping what has been given. Abundance is knowing the value of what you have, knowing and valuing what has already been given. It's tuning in to that which is already here. It is our nature. And our nature is to shift focus. And the choice we have is, how are we focusing? What are we focusing on? Because we can shift it. We can have a thought pop up and we can say, dang, I need more money. Okay, you need more money. That's a thought. In actuality, in this moment, do you really need more money? What would you use the money for? What experience are you looking for in this moment that money would provide you with? And so, interestingly, when we talk about abundance, it was never about the money. It was really more about what experience can money bring me? And so you've got to think, I want a new car. I need a new car. What experience are you looking for? Well, I'm looking for freedom. I'm looking for prestige. I'm looking to feel good about myself. Okay, those are all the feelings. Do you really need those feelings, or do you want those feelings? And people don't distinguish between needs and wants. They get them very confused. We have a need for safety, for food, for shelter, the Maslowian hierarchy of needs. But then we start getting into the wants. Wants and needs are very different. We don't survive without our needs being met, but our wants we can do just fine without. So part of, I think, maturing spiritually, again, is being grateful for what you have. As simple as that. And resting in that. Wow, I'm just grateful for what I have. And in those moments of gratitude, you cannot be in scarcity. It's like oil and water. They will not mix. So as soon as you, let's say, think of a friend, and in gratitude, you're thinking of your friend, grateful for your friendship. You can't think of scarcity and have the feeling of your friend at the same time. Now, there's little things, those little things about friendships. And if you think back, you can count the friends over the years that you've had. And some you've kept in touch with, and some you've lost touch with. But how important those friends have been. And if we think of what's really, really important, I can't think of anything more important than friendships and connection with people and walking into, like this morning, and being received and seen. And it's like walking into Cheers and saying, hey, hi, Norm, how you doing? But it's so comforting. And so when we count abundance, do we have an abundance of ideas? Do we have an abundance of friendships? Do we have an abundance of love and connection? If we tune in, we always have, but we necessarily don't tune in. And so that's really the charge, is to start recognizing what we have. As a kid, I was 10 years old and I had the Montgomery Ward Monkey Word catalog. And I used to look through that catalog at the tools and the bicycles and the toys. And oh man, I wanted this Hercules 3-speed bicycle. It was green and it came from England and it was $36. And I knew I was going to get it for Christmas. I just knew it. Well, I also knew we didn't have money in the family for that, but I was going to get it. And I was very optimistic. And Christmas came and I looked around the house for that. What would look like a bicycle? Nothing. Christmas came and went, and I was, I didn't get my bicycle. And something happened right there, and I think it served me very well. You didn't get a bicycle. Grow up. Go out and get one. What's stopping you? I guess nothing. Why don't you earn it? Oh, okay. I'm talking to myself. I'm a 10-year-old. So I go, okay, well, here's my abundance right now. I have an abundance of ideas. So I start I'm mowing lawns, I'm washing windows for people in the neighborhood, I'm returning bottles, getting the deposits. In 6 months, I had $36. Me and my dad go down to Montgomery Ward's and we walk up to the counter and here's my $36. And they said, that's fine. We'll get you your bicycle, but there's tax, something $2.50, something in tax. I don't have the money. My dad says, I'll take care of it. And he looks and he says, I'm really proud of you for being so creative in earning this bicycle. So that story brings me around to a couple things. Number one, that it gave me the confidence that when one door opens, another door closes, another door opens over here. And if I start looking around, doors are opening and closing everywhere. I just have to be, willing to take a walk down here and to go through an open door. The possibilities are endless. So I could have at Christmas thought, oh, I didn't get a bicycle. Now I've got to wait a whole nother year. That would be one possibility in order to get a bicycle. Or I could take a look at the universe. How do I get my needs met? How do I get my wants met? How do I move forward? This is an abundant universe. Do I have an abundance of ideas? The answer, yes. Okay. So we come up with ideas. And that's part of our genius, is there's always ideas coming up. The question is, what of those ideas or thoughts come up are we energizing? Are we energizing the thoughts of scarcity? I don't have enough money, time, love, whatever, talent. I don't have that. Or are we looking on the other side, the other leg of, actually, I do have enough time. I've always had enough time. It depends upon how I want to focus. My grandfather was called the chief, the big chief. He was a chief engineer on these oceans, these big boats during the turn of the century. He was in the engine room. He was a very confident, capable man. And he knew what he wanted. And every 2 years, he'd go down to the Cadillac dealership and he'd get himself a new Cadillac. And so the chief would go down there and he would tell this story at Christmas. He'd say, well, I went down and I told him what I wanted and the model. And he said, and I also told him the price I was going to pay for it. And the salesman said, no, we can't do that, sir. We can't do that. He says, well, maybe you can, but here's something I want you to think about. Would you like to have a small piece of pie or no pie at all? And that story has always stuck with me. And every 2 years, he'd tell that same story. And it worked. He would go and the salesman would say, nope, you can't do that, sir. And then we'd start to walk out and he'd say, well, maybe we can think about it. Always ended up with the car. And one of the reasons is that he was not attached, and here's the teaching part of it, he was not attached to the outcome. He would walk in there perfectly willing to walk out without a car. It wasn't a deal or anything. It wasn't a big deal. It was just the play. It was just the fun of it. And every 2 years, he would enjoy himself that way. What if we were to approach life in that situation like that also? Not being attached to a certain outcome. When things go not like you want them to go, and as we fall down figuratively, spiritually and other ways, when we fall down, how attached are we to a certain outcome? Because that's where our suffering comes in. When I need it to be a certain way, when I demand life shows up a certain way, I think I know more than the universe. Well, maybe that's not true. Maybe I need to align with the universe and what is being given and what are the possibilities. So being not attached to an outcome is really important here. Can I be flexible? Going back to the bicycle, can I be flexible? The door to getting a bicycle for Christmas closed. I need to go through another door. I need to be not attached to the bicycle coming through Christmas time. Gratitude for what you have makes you abundant. When you're standing in gratitude, you are abundant because the possibilities come up from that. When I'm standing in gratitude, I'm not thinking of scarcity. I'm not thinking of anything else. I'm actually resonating in the spirit of gratitude. Abundance is the ability to make choices. Scarcity is something that's fixated on no choice, in a sense. So in closing, I kind of want to wrap this up. If we think of children, are children living in scarcity or abundance? For the most part, they have an abundance of play. They have an abundance of time. They have an abundance of joy. There is no taboo about not asking someone to dance or to play or to. And so we can take us, a little bit out of the playbook for children. Children are our teachers in that regard. That's our nature. And returning to our nature, which is abundance, it's not about acquiring abundance. It's about recognizing what we already have, and it's right before us. This is the Garden of Eden. This is the Buddha nature right here and right now. And let's take that into prayer. As we feel the body in this chair, this gift of life, and as we feel the breath move in and out of the body, simply becoming aware of it, the feeling of the air moving, there's a fixation right there, there's a focus right there where scarcity cannot hide. When we feel the abundance of heartbeats, the abundance of the breath, the abundance that's all around us, that surround us, we are grateful, simply grateful. And as we stand in that gratitude, more is given because of the gratitude is there. And gratitude and love, they ride in the same boat. And so I anchor that gratitude and that love within us. As we move into our day and move out into the world, we take that with us as our passengers. For it is us. We are that. And so for all of this, I am grateful. And we've simply released this prayer by saying together, and so it is.